Hi, my name is Monique Hayes, and I'm the lead allied health counselor for Community College of Philadelphia. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about transferring in healthcare studies. Let me share my screen and we can get started. Okay. So, depending on what your career goal is, it's going to depend on pretty much what you're going to major in at CCP and how you're going to proceed with transferring. Right now, if you're thinking about transferring, you most likely are probably in healthcare studies or health services management. There are some people who may eventually get into our select allied health programs and then eventually go on for their bachelor's in these degrees. But for the most part, the associate's degrees in applied science and the proficiency certs are for people who are looking to gain employment right after they complete these degrees. So you just want to make sure you talk to someone to make sure you're going towards the right path. In reference to transfer, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the myths about healthcare transfer. These are basically questions that people bring up or things they talk about a lot. And I go, ooh, that's not true. Who told you that? And they're like, oh, I heard it from this person. I heard it from that person. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So one of the first things people say is, can I transfer if I didn't do a dual admissions application? And the answer is yes, you can. Dual admissions is a scholarship partnership that we have with a bunch of schools. We don't have it with every school. And it allows you to fill out an intent form once you've completed 30 to 45 credits, depending on the school. But once you hit that point, once you're past that point of credit accumulation, you're no longer eligible for dual admissions, but you are eligible to still transfer to other schools. So just make sure if you have any questions or confusion about that, you want to talk to a counselor or an academic advisor. Another question we get all the time is students saying that they can transfer to Temple's nursing program. And so it used to be true. You could transfer to Temple's nursing program, you do your prereqs in 2 years here, then you go to do the other 2 at Temple. Here's what I will tell you. I think it's important that people check Temple's website. And so I'm just going to pull it up real quick. If you pull it up, what it shows you is that, yes, they have a transfer application deadline for nursing, but there's a note. It says this is a 4-year program, even for transfer students. And so what this means is no matter how many years or credits you accumulate at CCP, when you go to Temple for their nursing program, you're going to have to start from scratch. And so for me, I don't think that that's a good affordable option for our students, and I don't think that that's a good choice. But if you've always wanted to go to Temple, you could go to an information session and see if it makes sense for you. Only you know what fits for you. All right, so I'm going to go back to my screen. And let's see, the next myth. If I have the minimum GPA/test scores to get into a program, they will select me. So people automatically think when they read these applications for transfer, it says minimum GPA needed a 2.0, minimum GPA needed a 2.5, minimum test score needed. And they think just because they meet the minimum, they're automatically going to get in. That's not the case. All of these programs, especially in healthcare, are very competitive. So you want to make sure that you're putting forth your most competitive application, which means just because it says a minimum of a 2.25 or a 2.5, you need to be shooting towards that 4.0. They're going to have people who apply with 3.5s, 3.8s, and you want to be somebody with a competitive application so that you make it difficult for them not to choose you. If you have a lower GPA, it's easier for them to say no. Even if you write a great essay, sometimes they just are like, you didn't meet the minimum qualifications, we're not even looking at it. Let's see, the next myth. People think that if they took a class and then they retook the class, so say you take the class once and you don't pass it. Say you take Biology 109, you get an F. And then you retake it and you get an A. A lot of people think that schools are automatically going to count the highest GPA and they're going to disregard the F that you got. Now at CCP, what happens is for GPA calculations, we're going to count the highest grade. However, sometimes when you apply to transfer institutions, they're going to count both the F in the A. So sometimes that'll bring down your cumulative GPA. So you just want to know what they're going to count and what they're looking for when they calculate your GPA. It's better to be informed than to believe the myth that every school is going to do it exactly the same way. Do I need a bachelor's degree to work in healthcare? Now that answer is no. You could be a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, a medical assistant. We have medical assisting at CCP, pharmacy tech, which we have through our Workforce Solution program. You don't have to get a full associate's degree or even a bachelor's degree for that. You could become a licensed practical nurse. You could become a phlebotomist. There's a bunch of different healthcare fields that you could go into without completing your bachelor's degree. If you want to learn more about those, you can contact a counselor or an academic advisor. Can I ever have too many credits to transfer? The answer to that is no. However, I do want you to keep in mind that four-year institutions usually have rules around how many credits they accept from someone. So ultimately it might be like 60 credits, 80 credits, 100 credits. You need to look on their transfer agreement, their transfer information on their actual websites. So it'll say transfer admissions, and then you can look up how many credits they'll actually take. So you just want to make sure that you start talking to these schools sooner than later and start doing your research soon. So we talked a little bit about myths. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the frequently asked questions. So the first thing is, do you have to transfer? And the answer is, it depends on the program and the type of job you're seeking. So the one thing I tell students all the time, especially in healthcare, is that you want to actually go online and see if it makes sense for you to transfer. So how do you figure that out? Begin with the end in mind. So I tell people go on Indeed.com. It's basically a job search website. And when you go on there, let's see, you basically can type in, let's type in nursing and hit, actually I'm going to type in nursing assistant and type find jobs. So I just want to make sure I'm sharing. Yes. Okay. So when you go in here, you'll see a bunch of jobs come up. So say I want to be a CNA. I click on this, and then in the corner, what'll pop up is the information about what the responsibilities are, the type of job, and some of the requirements. So you'll look, it'll say, well, you need a license, you need 1 year experience as a CNA, they want CNA license, CPR preferred. So that one doesn't break down education. Let's see if this one does, because each one's a little different. I just tell people, if you find one that doesn't have education, just click on another. So this one says CNA required, so you have to get that experience as a CNA for at least 1 year. Let's see, of course I'm not gonna find one right now. Let's see. So this breaks down the hours that you would work, how many hours they want you to work, and then minimum requirements. So it says you have to have certification. This says high school diploma required. So it doesn't say you have to have an associate's or a bachelor's degree. You just have to have certain certification to be able to be a nursing assistant at this job. And so let's look at the difference. So say I put in, let's see, dietitian. And we want to find jobs in Philadelphia. And then, sorry about that. This person needs to be a registered dietitian. This one doesn't list the education. Let's see if I can get one that lists the education. So this one says you have to have a bachelor's in nursing or in nutrition or dietetics or related field. You have to be a registered dietitian. And then it talks about other requirements that you must have. I'm going to try one more. So say registered. So I'm actually going to put hospital nurse. So that's a nurse tech, a tech. It's a NICU registered nurse. So I know I run into a lot of people who want to work in the NICU with the little babies. And so this says you have to be a graduate of an accredited nursing school, you have to have your RN for 6 months, and licensure. Let's see, this is a nursing assistant. It says high school diploma, graduate of a certified nursing assistant program. So you just want to check it out, because if you put in certain things, it'll say you need a degree. If you put in other things, it'll say you don't. So let's try a physical therapist. And this will be the last one I do. So physical therapist, it shows how much they make in a range at this job, and it's an urgent hire. Let's see, job qualification, must have a master's degree, and experience in physical therapy is preferred but not required. So for this job, to be a physical therapist, you have to get a master's degree. So I think it's important that you always begin with the end in mind and think about what do I want to do to see where I need to go. All right, so the next frequently asked questions, when can I transfer? So that answer actually depends on each school and what you're looking to do. Some people take a few classes at CCP and they transfer. Different schools have different policies. Many of them know to recognize you as a transfer student, you usually have to have 15 to 30 college level credits done. But a lot of people would stay at CCP, complete the associate's degree, because you're going to save money in the long run. So some schools have that minimum requirement. Admissions deadlines vary, so that's going to depend on the timeline. Some schools accept transfer students in the fall and the spring. Some only let transfer students start in the fall. Will all my CCP credits count? Will my grades transfer? Will my class credits transfer from CCP? So the first thing I want you to understand is that CCP is Middle States accredited. So most of our college level courses are going to transfer to another school, but you want to make sure you get a C or higher, because usually D's or F grades will not transfer. Even if you see them in your My Degree path as counting the D's, that doesn't mean that a transfer institution is going to take them. In addition, colleges will usually only take college level courses, which means they're not going to take the developmental courses. So that English 098, 099, the foundational mathematics 016, 017, anything with a 0 in front of it is usually to develop your skills towards college level. So they're not going to take that as a transfer course. So you want to make sure you're going towards C's or higher in your courses, and you want to try and not change your major at the four-year school. And I realize sometimes that's hard, but say you were at CCP and you complete the healthcare studies degree, and then you decide, when I go to the four-year school, I want to study education. Well, the difficulty with that is you don't have any of your foundational courses in education completed, so you're kind of behind for that actual major. It doesn't mean that that four-year school isn't going to take your courses. It just means they're not going to count towards that new degree you're going towards. So if you're concerned that you're thinking about changing your major and you're not sure if it's going to affect your transfer or not, just schedule an appointment with a counselor and we can help you work through that. So let's talk a little bit about GPA. Does your cumulative GPA matter? The answer is yes. So many schools are going to use your cumulative GPA as the GPA they look at. They're not just going to look at your most recent semester. They're going to look at your overall existence and in college. So that's the cumulative GPA. Does your science GPA matter? The answer to that is also a yes, depending on the school. Some schools will have rules with transfer that say you must have a cumulative GPA of a 3.0 or higher, you must have a science GPA of a 3.0 or higher, which basically means straight B's. So depending on how they average them out. But ultimately, you want to check with the school and see what they're counting when they look at GPA. Then another question we get a lot is, can I get accepted with a low GPA? So the answer is, it depends on the school. Ultimately, you want to talk to a counselor and have that conversation. Yes, you could write a great essay and it could explain to schools what was going on that your GPA is so low, what type of emergency situations you might have had, what kind of difficulty you might have had in a class. If you were dealing with, I don't know, a math disability. I had a math disability in college, and so it made the math grades be a lot lower than my other grades. And I explained that in my essay because I didn't find out about the disability until late in my schooling. So you can write about what was going on in your essay. However, keep in mind, it depends on how low your GPA is. Again, if you don't meet the minimum requirements, it's very slim chances that a school's gonna let you in. If right now you're looking at your GPA going, oh my gosh, I don't have the minimum, it's okay. It doesn't mean you're not gonna get into that career you want. It just means you need to work with a counselor and advisor to try and figure out how you can elevate your GPA. So if you have a low GPA, come and talk to someone. If you're right at that minimum requirement, start trying to take some courses that you know you're gonna do well in. The one thing I want you to keep in mind, especially as someone going towards healthcare, those lab science grades and statistics, any class that's a 4-credit course, those courses, they carry heavier weights. And so that means if you take a 4-credit course and you get a C in that course, or a D or an F, it's going to lower your GPA. A 4-credit A or B raises it, but a 4-credit C takes it down. So you want to make sure when you're taking on those lab sciences, you make sure you're studying so that you can get great grades in those courses. It doesn't mean if you get a C in a lab science, you're not going to get into a program. It just means that it starts to bring your GPA down and you have to fight harder to get it back up. How long will it take to finish the bachelor's degree? Now, if you finish your associate's degree at CCP, you don't do 4 more years at the 4-year school. We call it a 4-year school because essentially people who start off there as freshmen, they do about 4 to 5 years to complete the bachelor's degree. However, think about CCP and completing that associate's degree as completing your first 2 years of your bachelor's degree. So basically the point is that you take those 2 years, you then transfer them to the 4-year school, and then you just have 2 more years to complete to earn that bachelor's degree. Every once in a while, there's a couple more classes. So sometimes people may be in a 3-year when they transfer. It just depends on how you mapped out your associate's degree. Who at CCP can help me with the transfer process? So at CCP, counselors and advisors have lots of information about transfer. You can also check out the Transfer Opportunity website. If you log into My CCP and you go under enrollment services, you will see a link that says Transfer Opportunity. Not sure. Let's see if I have it open. Share my screen. It's not opening. Actually, let's see if I can do it this way. I'll go back into something else I shared. So if you go to My CCP online, or if you're already logged in, if you're not, you can do it from the CCP website. But as a student, you'll already be on My CCP. So if you hit enrollment services and you click here, just want to make sure I'm still sharing. under enrollment services, when you hover over it and you hit transfer opportunities, it'll take you to a page that lists information about getting started, how to transfer to get a bachelor's degree. This is where you can learn more about dual admissions, the PASHE agreements, historical Black colleges and universities, all the different information. And I know that they are building up the upcoming events for our transfer fairs and everything. So that's a wonderful website for you to check out on my CCP wonderful link. So I'm going to go back to my presentation. So if you have watched this whole video and you're like, this is so exciting, I'm ready to transfer, I need more information and I want more help, all you need to do is make an appointment with a counselor. And how you can do that is, if you're in a course that has a counselor in the Canvas shell, just click and email that counselor. If you are not in a course with a counselor linked to it, all you need to do is contact counseling@ccp.edu, or you can call 215-751-8169. If we don't pick up, we will definitely return your voicemail as soon as possible. And counselors can help you to be able to direct your path so you can figure out what your next steps are towards transfer. What questions do you have? Email us now, and hopefully we can help you on your next step towards transferring. Thank you for joining us, and it was great to share this information with you. Have a wonderful day.